I never revealed to my unfaithful wife that I was once a Marine sniper, and am now a CIA operative. But one night, I overheard her whispering on the phone, "Don't worry, he has no clue. Send the hitmen tomorrow, and make it look like a botched robbery." It wasn't the lipstick on the collar, or the late nights at the office that tipped me off. It was a single whisper, an accidental breath of truth, that shattered my world. Saturday night, the air was thick with the scent of rain and asphalt as I sat in my car, scrolling through old photos on my phone. My wife, Jessica, had gone to a girls' night out, her red dress hugging her figure in a way that used to make my chest tighten with pride. But pride had a funny way of twisting into suspicion. Lately, she had started smiling less, coming home later, and laughing at jokes that weren't mine. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe the long hours at work were getting to me. Maybe I was paranoid. Then my phone buzzed, a notification lighting up the screen like a crack of thunder. Home security alert, backyard motion detected. Odd, Jessica wasn't supposed to be home yet, and I wasn't expecting anyone. I clicked the notification and opened the live feed. My heart stopped. There she was, Jessica, standing under the backyard floodlight. She wasn't alone. A man leaned toward her, someone I had never seen before. Dark hair. Leather jacket. The type who probably thought he was too cool for deodorant. I watched in disbelief as they kissed. Not a nervous, fleeting thing. No, this was full-on shameless passion. My stomach twisted like I had swallowed broken glass. But it was what happened next that froze my blood. As they pulled apart, she laughed, an ugly guttural sound I hadn't heard before. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Don't worry. He's too stupid to figure it out. Too stupid." I gripped the steering wheel so tightly it creaked under my fingers. Every ounce of love I had for her shriveled in that moment, replaced by something darker. I didn't storm in. I didn't yell or demand answers, not yet. Instead, I turned off the feed and sat there, staring at the dashboard. My breaths came shallow and fast. A million thoughts crashed into each other, none of them coherent. Who was this guy? How long had this been going on? And how the hell did she think I wouldn't notice? But as the rage bubbled up, so did something else. Training. Years ago, before I met Jessica, I had been someone else. A man with a different name, a different life. And though I had left that behind, some habits die hard. I calmed myself not for her sake but for mine. Pulling out of the driveway, I parked a few blocks away, and started walking back to the house. Rain dampened my shirt as my mind raced, piecing together fragments of conversations, unexplained absences, and lies disguised as reassurances. Jessica's betrayal was bad enough. But the part that burned the most. She thought I was weak, that I wouldn't catch on. That I couldn't fight back. Oh, she didn't know who she was messing with. As I approached the house, I stayed in the shadows, careful not to alert them. The floodlight clicked off, leaving the backyard in darkness. I crept closer, heart pounding in my ears. Voices drifted toward me, low and conspiratorial. "He'll be out of the picture soon," Jessica said. Her tone was cold, calculated. Not the voice of the woman I married. "We just need to be careful." The man's reply was muffled, but I caught enough to make my fists clench. "I still think we should have just handled it, the first time I brought it up." Handled it? What the hell were they talking about? I slipped around to the side of the house, and peered through the window. They were standing in the kitchen now, Jessica pouring wine, while he leaned against the counter. She was too close to him. Her body language was intimate. Smug. "Don't worry," she said, smirking. "He's harmless, a sheep, not a wolf." The man laughed, but it wasn't a normal laugh. It was cruel. Dismissive. A wave of something I hadn't felt in years surged through me, the cold, focused rage that used to keep me alive in the field. It was time to stop being a sheep. I stayed in the shadows, my body tense but my mind razor sharp. Jessica and her lover, she didn't know I was there. Just outside the window, I watched their little conspiracy unfold. Harmless. I repeated her words silently to myself, letting it churn inside me like a storm. She didn't just think I was clueless, she thought I was weak. A pushover. A fool. Jessica handed him a glass of wine and leaned against the counter, her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. That laughter, that energy, it was like she had saved the best part of herself for this guy. For him. My gut twisted, and my hands curled into fists so tight I could feel my nails digging into my palms. I wanted to burst in and confront them right then and there. But something held me back, not fear, not hesitation, strategy. Because there was more to this than just infidelity. This wasn't just some sleazy affair. Their words, "handled it, out of the picture," kept circling back in my head. They weren't just sleeping together. They were planning something. I stepped back from the window, and made my way to the backyard shed, careful to stay out of sight. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, muffling my footsteps as I opened the shed door. Inside, among the clutter, was an old duffel bag. The contents hadn't seen daylight in years. But now, as I checked the items inside, They felt like an extension of my own body. Gloves, a pair of binoculars, a compact recorder. Old habits die hard. I slipped on the gloves and activated the recorder. Then, I crept back toward the house and crouched near the kitchen window, angling the tiny microphone, just enough to pick up their voices. "She won't suspect anything," Jessica was saying. Who's she? I thought. "You just make sure you're ready when the time comes." The man chuckled, his voice low and gravelly. "Trust me, this ain't my first job, Jess. You'll have your new life, and he'll be a bad memory." No loose ends. My heart stopped. A bad memory. No loose ends. They weren't just planning to cheat. They were planning to kill me. The air felt like it had been sucked out of my lungs. I stayed crouched frozen, as their words sank in. This wasn't just a marriage falling apart. This was betrayal at its absolute worst. My wife, the woman I had loved, trusted, built a life with, wanted me dead. And in that moment, the old me, the one who had spent years navigating danger and deception, clicked into place. The pain, the heartbreak, the gut-wrenching realization that my wife had turned into a monster. All of it would have to wait. Right now, I had to survive. I crept away from the house and back to my car, my hands trembling as I slid into the driver's seat. But my mind was already running through the next steps. Step 1, gather evidence. Jessica had no idea who she was messing with. She saw me as harmless, a sheep. But before I met her, I was a wolf in the field, an operative for an organization that didn't officially exist. I had walked through hell, and come out the other side. This was personal, but it was also a mission now. I drove to a motel on the outskirts of town, and checked in under a fake name. The clerk barely looked up as I paid in cash, and carried my bag to the room. Once inside, I set up my laptop. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.